Welcome, everybody, to The World is a Mess, and I just went to Steampunk It. This is episode 67. This is June 27th, 2022. I'm your host, Steampunk Star Raisin. I'm here in North Hollywood, California, USA. I'm here with my co-host, Daniel Bertison. He's in Bellwood, Ontario, Canada. He's also known for doing his show, Hot Topics. But yeah, he's now a co-host here on my show, The World is a Mess, and I just went to Steampunk It. Anyway, sorry, probably overly introduced you, but maybe to a new audience that hasn't seen you before or hasn't seen this before. So what's on your mind, Daniel?
Yeah, did you see okay, so I just saw Strange New Worlds, and the last episode was not very impressive. I just thought it was like a storybook thing, I just didn't
I
really
thought
care
it was
for it.
interesting. I actually was emotionally touched by the doctor having to give his daughter up to the entity so that she would survive as like
Hmm.
non-corporeal, like pure energy life form, and then she had like hyper aged. That was really interesting. It was kind of sad, but I guess it helps him to get his daughter out of the transporter bay, being stuck in the buffer. Um, I'm familiar with the concept of a Boltzmann brain. I think it's Boltzmann brain. Let me look that up real quick. It's a theoretical concept. Boltzmann's brain. Boltzmann brain. Go back to share screen. I actually liked the episode. I think it was probably the best episode of Strange New Worlds because of the emotional. I thought it was going to be cheesy with the play, but I get that the Boltzmann brain, which is a theoretical concept. To give you the background, there's actually been a MCU movie that involved a Boltzmann brain. You know which MCU movie?
Can you refresh my memory?
Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Ego, the living planet. He was a Boltzmann brain.
Oh, he was? Oh, wow.
Yeah, if you remember in the beginning, he said that he doesn't know how, he just remembers existing in the void caught in the middle of interstellar debris for a time, and it took him a little time to figure out his what his true nature was. But yeah, his earliest memories were just forming in the void. But yeah, the Boltzmann brain thought experiment suggests that it might be more likely for a single brain to spontaneously form in a void, complete with a memory of having existed in our universe, rather than the entire universe come in the matter cosmologists think it actually did. Physicists use the Boltzmann brain thought experiment as reducto ad absurdum argument for evaluating competing scientific theories. So this is a theory put forth by this dude here, Ludwig Boltzmann. And he was a physicist who was born February 20th, 1844, died September the 5th, 1906. So yeah, I'd heard about this before, but yeah, Ego, the living planet, and the MCU and Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was a Boltzmann brain. And in this episode 8 of Strange New Worlds, they accidentally go into this interstellar medium, or this cloud nebula, and there is a Boltzmann brain there that just spontaneously formed out of the cloud nebula, and it has intelligence, and it detects that the little girl is trapped in the transporter, and it basically takes over everybody on the ship and reenacts the play. So by itself, I thought just a bunch of people acting goofy on the ship, dressed in costumes, like doing a Shakespearean like play, I thought would have been goofy, and the episode was better than I expected. I thought it was emotionally well felt, where he was having to say goodbye to his the doctor. I forgot his name.
Dr. Mbenga.
Benga. Yeah, he had to say goodbye to his daughter, but he knew that she was well. And I've always been fascinated with the concept of a Boltzmann brain, because I feel like, as large as the universe is, it could theoretically be possible that in a cosmic nebula somewhere, that the mechanics of a basic brain could form. But yeah, so this is actually based on a scientific thought experiment. It's only theoretical. It's never been proven to actually occur in reality, but it is interesting to debate, and it's interesting to theorize.
Yeah,
And they
definitely.
actually mentioned that in the episode. So that's why I actually like the episode. And yeah, it was a little goofy at times, but I like the concept of this non-corporeal being living in a nebula, and the ship encounters it, and it interacts. It just views the girl as being trapped, like she's a prisoner, so it attempts to help her by getting her to live out her fantasy. So I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting concept. That's what actually I thought made the episode entertaining to me. I mean, I would still give it like a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10, but yeah, I thought it was interesting. You have anything else to add to it? You didn't really care for it, though.
No, the episode was just like a filler episode to me. It didn't really mean anything, you know.
Well, most of the episodes this season have been a filler, and unfortunately, because there's only 10 episodes, we're already 80% of the way through. There's only going to be 2 more episodes. That's really the problem when you do streaming. You're limited on budget because you don't have the millions of dollars of advertisement, which I have previously stated several times before. And so the quality, the story writing is not as good. The special effects are not as good. They tend to limit the scope of the story because they don't want to have to spend too much money. And it really shows. It really does show. I wish they would bring back Star Trek to regular television, not just as streaming. I think it would do much better if they brought it back to regular television. That way they could do a full season of 23 episodes.
Yeah.
So any other
Also, you know what? This is not serialized. This is episodic, which means it doesn't have an overall story, which means it doesn't have an end game to it.
well, I mean, other episodes can impact other episodes. Yeah, it is episodic. Each story is designed to stand alone, but occasionally you can have other episodes that stand out. They seem to be laying the seeds for season 2 with Spock's brother, with the previous episode, which I don't really appreciate, because they're basically tying in to one of the worst Star Trek movies out of the original series Star Trek movies. I would say Star Trek 5 was the worst. I would say it's even worse than Star Trek Nemesis, and Spock's brother is not a character that I really care to revisit, but they seem to put that in. I guess they're going to re-explore that storyline maybe next season, if it gets renewed for season 2, which I'm sure it will. Because you got Captain Elvis on the ship. He's Elvis.
Yeah.
His hair
Captain
looks like Elvis.
Some people say he's going to sidestep his fate, and that's going to create a branch reality where anything is possible. I don't know. Anything, it can go anywhere at this point.
Well, I mean, who can say? I don't know. They've broken so many things with retcons. I don't know where they're going to go with it. Actually,
the triple timeline theory for Star Trek.
Yeah. I remember we talked about that before. But I don't know if that applies to Strange New Worlds, but it probably does. There's the Kelvin timeline. There's the original Prime timeline, and then there's a new timeline. So maybe this is the new timeline.
Yeah, I heard people mention okay, where did this new timeline come from? And now I'm hearing new theories that remember Generations? Star Trek
Yeah.
Generations when Picard went into the
Yeah.
Nexus, and then he went back in time and he stopped Soren.
Hmm.
Well, now people are saying that when Picard went into the Nexus and he went back, he created another branch reality, and in this one, he actually did what he did, right? And that's what created all the new reality. But I don't see
I
how
don't
that
know.
would
That's
work.
very theoretical, and they haven't been very consistent with sticking with Gene Roddenberry, Berman timeline. See, I'll stop sharing. But yeah, I mean, I just think Rick Berman was very talented, and it really disgusts me that they destroyed his career. I mean, like if you look at I'm looking at his Internet Movie Database. He hasn't done anything. The last thing he worked on was Star Trek Enterprise in 2005. He hasn't done anything. I mean, I guess he's retired. He's probably a member of the Producers Guild, and he's probably got a pretty good retirement. But I wish they would bring him back. Bring back Rick Berman. That was Gene Roddenberry's chosen successor. And then let Rick Berman pick the successor for Star Trek, because we need people who actually understand Star Trek writing Star Trek. And I think that's the problem, is the people who are writing Star Trek don't understand it. They're trying to mimic the original series with Strange New Worlds, and it feels like a weak, watered down copy. I mean, there are some okay episodes, like I like the one with the comet, and I like this last episode, mainly because I've always been fascinated with the concept of Boltzmann Brain. They covered it more in depth. And do you remember in Guardians of the Galaxy, he talked about how he was in a cloud nebula, his earliest memories, he just remembers coming into existence spontaneously, and he was like drifting in a nebula, and for millions of years he just kind of drifted, and then he finally figured out the true nature of himself and what he was going to do, or something like that. I'll have to watch that again, because that was actually an interesting MCU movie. I think it's very underrated, Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2, because I love the concept of a Boltzmann brain. I think it's very, very fascinating. I think that with all the billions and trillions of stars and all the trillions of possibilities, that it is entirely possible that something like that could form.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it artificial intelligence, but just spontaneous intelligence formed out of maybe nucleic acids in a cloud nebula.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be kind of an energy parasite. If you had a Boltzmann brain in real life, it'd be kind of an energy parasite, because it would have to absorb energy from surrounding areas in order to subsist.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, so you never really thought of that. You were like, wow, they've actually had a very similar concept in Guardians of the Galaxy too.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Huh.
Because that's what Ego the Living Planet was. He was a Boltzmann's brain. They even show where he's talking about how his earliest memories of coming into existence, spontaneously coming into existence, being a brain in the cosmos, and then he's trying to replicate copies of himself. And then he threatens the very nature of the universe, because the copies of himself are just going to take over everything, and then everything's just going to be a copy of him.
Yeah.
That was a very interesting concept.
I wonder how he'll come back, because he has to come back, right? Because he's in Marvel Comics. He's one of the big
He's
threats.
kind of a more obscure villain, but but maybe they'll bring him back. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to talk about before we move on to another topic?
Again, I say this all the time. I can't wait for Picard season 3. I can't wait
Okay,
till we get to
well, do you have
20%.
any news about Picard season 3?
Let's see. I don't think there's nothing now.
I've just seen the teaser trailer, which just teases that they're going to bring back and reunite the entire Next Generation cast. I hope that's not just, a tease. I hope that's not just something that they're going to tease you and bait you and switch you with, where the main story is not going to really involve any of it. If they just put them in for a cameo, that's going to piss me off. I hope they bring back the entire Next Generation cast and have them for a good full season.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm assuming that it's still filming. Is it still filming Picard season 3?
I think so. Yeah. No. It stopped in March. It stopped in March.
Okay. So they're done. They just got to get with post-production and editing.
Mm-hmm. And they're hinting at a spin-off.
And
You know?
the CGI special effects in Picard was kind of terrible. Like, and I'm not the only one who remarked on this. Like, I really like during season 1, I hated the way they depicted the Romulan ships. They looked like wrecked battleships. Like you took the deck of a battleship and just threw it into space. They're like a fragment of a wrecked battleship. Why didn't they just, the Romulan warbird is a beautiful design. Why didn't they just base it on that? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's almost as if the people who are making a special effects Picard had never watched an episode of Next Generation. I guarantee you that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just the special effects are kind of crappy in Picard. The storyline, very lackluster, kind of crappy. I have not liked the first 2 seasons. I liked part of like the first season of Picard, like halfway through, I liked it, and then it started getting really bad when they really retconned the 7 of 9 and they made her this embittered Borg woman she's an ex-Borg who's been discriminated against by the Federation, and she never joined the Federation. That didn't seem like the Federation to me. And that she mercy kills her friend. She has Borg nanobots in her body. She could regenerate tissue. She did this in Star Trek Voyager. It's almost as if the people who are producing the show and the people who are writing the show never saw an episode of Voyager and never saw an episode of Next Generation. They were like, let's just wing it. Fuck it. It really pisses me off. It really does, because I really hate that. I'm not asking, I understand that there's been over 700 episodes of Star Trek, if you can count all the different shows. But, and I can't expect you to keep continuity details for all of them. You can make honest mistakes, but I expect you to at least do basic research, but they're not even doing basic research. It's either that or they just don't care. And it leads me to believe that this is a Kelvin timeline, Captain Picard, not the same Picard that we know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or not, it's not the same Picard from Next Generation. If I think of it that way, then that makes more sense to me, but I still don't like the show. Not so far. I mean, I'm willing to give it a chance during season 3. And the sad thing is, Patrick Stewart said that there was only going to be 3 seasons of Picard. So I don't know. We shall see. Anyway, anything else you have in your mind about Strange New Worlds before we move on to another topic?
Nope.
Okay, so what else is on your mind? What else did you want to talk about? Did you want to talk about the season finale, Kenobi episode 6?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it, but overall, I was greatly disappointed by the show, because the first 2 episodes, the pacing was really, really slow and sometimes boring, and the pacing was really off, and there's so many contrivances. Like, Reva got stabbed by Anakin Skywalker in the chest as a youngling, but yet she survived. And then she gets stabbed in the chest again. and then she's able to hop around and then try to kill Luke Skywalker, and then decides not to kill Luke Skywalker because now she's going back to the Jedi way. It just seemed very contrived. I mean, I get it; it's a redemption arc, very similar to Anakin Skywalker's redemption arc, but I didn't buy it. It didn't seem very realistic that she would be able to still continue to hunt for Luke Skywalker after getting stabbed in the chest. There was no explanation of how the Grand Inquisitor survived. I guess you could just get stabbed in the chest and become a cyborg. They need to at least give a reference, a line. It is just really lazy story writing, and it drives me bonkers. Yeah, it was cool to see Obi-Wan Kenobi fight Darth Vader. The special effects were pretty good on that. I thought it was cool that you got to see Anakin's face, and then you have to hear his real voice mixed with Darth Vader's voice. But that was kind of haunting and kind of chilling. But it still violates canon and a retcons canon. And even George Lucas recently, there's a video on TikTok of George Lucas stating, or actually I think it's on YouTube. George Lucas said that the first 6 Star Wars movies were his concept, his ideas. Disney is doing something entirely different that has nothing to do with his concept of Star Wars. And he said that he had his own idea for a sequel trilogy, and Disney decided to throw all of that out. And so he's not even involved anymore. And so, yeah, George Lucas definitely disagrees with the direction of Star Wars. And yeah, I mean, Disney is just running out of ideas. They're trying to create filler shows, and Kenobi, despite all of its good special effects in that last episode was pretty good, there was too many contrivances, and so I had a problem with it. So yeah, I was greatly disappointed. I was entertained some of the time. The last 2 episodes were a lot better, but I still felt it was a little bit contrived and a little bit unrealistic based on the pretense, like, you know, you have Jedis and Sith and people who are force sensitive. I mean, if you get stabbed in the chest with a lightsaber, you need to explain how that person survived. Did they become a cyborg? Explain it. Give one clue of how they survived. It makes no sense that Reva being stabbed that bad would be able to survive. Then why would Darth Vader even leave her alive? Wouldn't Darth Vader view her as a threat since she tried to kill him? It's just very contrived. Well, we need to keep her alive when this would be good for her character arc. Maybe we'll spin off. There's a rumor that they might spin off a Reva solo series, but I hope they don't do that, because I just think the character is poorly written. Anyway, you still there?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I mean, the finale was just, I mean, it was okay. I'm hearing there's going to be a season 2, and I'm like, why? Why should there be a season 2?
Well, I heard that there might be a season 2. I know Disney originally pitched this as a limited mini series, that it was only going to be 6 episodes, but they really killed a lot of time. It almost feels like they only had enough story for like a 2-hour movie, and they only had enough screenplay, enough story for a 2-hour movie, and they were like, well, we need to do this web series. We don't really have a big budget. We can't really retool the script. So let's take this 2-hour movie script, because they originally were going to do a Kenobi movie. It feels like what they did was they took a script from what was supposed to be the Kenobi movie, and they were supposed to do a Boba Fett movie, and they turned them into a low budget streaming series. So It feels like they took the 2-hour script for what was going to be the 2-hour Kenobi movie, and we do know that they did write a script for this movie, but then when Solo bombed at the box office and Rise of Skywalker got critically panned, they canceled the Kenobi movie, and then they turned it into a streaming series. So it feels like they were like took the 2-hour script and stretched it out over 6 hours, and it just doesn't work, because most of it is just filler episodes with him just wandering around being depressed. And I didn't like, the thing that really offended me the most, it seemed very unlike Kenobi, was that he wouldn't help out a fellow Jedi. Come on. It just doesn't seem like Obi-Wan Kenobi to me. I mean, he can be depressed, he can be down, he could be reluctant to use his force powers, but why would you not help out a fellow Jedi? I, it doesn't feel like Kenobi from the Clone Wars, and it doesn't feel like Kenobi from Star Wars: A New Hope. So I had a big issue with that.
Yeah. I was wondering, like, why do you think they have? Yeah, I was thinking, why do you think they had Luke Skywalker as depressed in like episode 8, and Kenobi the same thing here? He's depressed. I think why? Because I think depression is a really relevant topic today. A lot of people nowadays are depressed, and I think that's just relevant, and it's very relatable to today's society.
Yeah, but it's got to make sense in the concept and in the context of the story. If it doesn't make sense in the context of the story, then it's just downright stupid.
Yeah.
But so I was entertained for a couple episodes. I mean, I'll say it's a very mediocre series. It wasn't great. It was mediocre, but it was entertainment. But that's really all I have to say about Kenobi, episode 5 and 6. Anything else you have to say about Star Wars or Kenobi before we move on to the next topic?
Like, all I know is I can't wait for the Ahsoka show because it takes place after Mandalorian season 2, and I think it takes place after Mandalorian season 3 as well, because the next show we're gonna get is Mandalorian season 3 in October. I remember we were talking about Mandalorian season 2 last October. Remember? You were saying that you
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Said you
never know with Disney and all their shenanigans. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I remember you talking about leftover Halloween candy.
What do you mean leftover Halloween candy?
But you said remember I was talking to you on the phone, and you said that you got some leftover Halloween candy from somewhere and you were eating it.
Oh, I think my girlfriend gave me some.
Was it hard?
What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
No. It just connected my thoughts to it just connected it, because I remember you were talking about leftover Halloween candy, and so that automatically, maybe remember
Whatever.
about, yeah.
Cool.
So I'm thinking, yeah, definitely this October, because I really do hope so, man. Dude, it's time to move forward, man. It's time to move forward.
Anyway, I want to move on to the next topic. Done talking about Kenobi. Roe v. Wade getting overturned in the Supreme Court. This had been leaked several months ago, and this is terrible news. This undoes precedent in the Supreme Court, and it makes the Supreme Court a political right-wing activist joke that has no ruling authority, because because if anybody can just get appointed, because Trump appointed 3 Supreme Court justices, and Trump has really done a lot of long-term damage to this country, especially with his appointments. He appointed Brett Kavanaugh, who's basically a rapist. He was proven to be a rapist in testimony. Just the FBI didn't properly do a background check. The woman that accused Brett Kavanaugh of rape was scrutinized, but Brett Kavanaugh was not scrutinized, and his own calendar contradicts his story. He lied and perjured himself under oath that he didn't meet this girl, but it was evidence in his calendar that he did. Should never have been appointed, because you have Clarence Thomas, who actually sexually harassed Anita Hill back in the 80s, and was a guy who committed sexual assault, also appointed to the Supreme Court. And then you got Amy Coney Barrett, who is a member of a religious cult, and she's a religious zealot. And also Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, who are now Supreme Court justices, helped overturn the election of Al Gore. Al Gore should have won, because he won the popular vote by over 500,000. And it was taken to the Florida Supreme Court, and the Florida Supreme Court allowed the recount to continue, because that's normal if you have less than 1% difference in the vote. And the Supreme Court, that was mostly conservative at the time, and even more so today, ruled on behalf of George W. Bush, and effectively the Supreme Court picked the president, even though Al Gore should have won the state of Florida, thus won the presidential election. So for the second time we've had 2 presidents in the last 20 years that shouldn't have been president. George W. Bush and Donald Trump, and they were not elected by the popular vote. Bush won by being appointed by the Supreme Court, with them refusing to allow democracy to take place and a proper recount. Time magazine did a proper recount and showed that Bush lost the popular vote in the state of Florida. So yeah, we live in crazy times. I fear for the future. This is really bad. Any political hack can get appointed on the Supreme Court and overturn 50 years of precedent, and it doesn't matter. Anything the Supreme Court says now has no bearing, because the next judge could be reappointed that has a countering view and then just overturn that precedent. And it really, I think it hurts the legal stability of the legal system in the United States. And we are out of time, but thank you very much for joining me. But yeah, we're screwed with this type of Supreme Court. So I don't know what.
Who was a worse president, George W. Bush or Donald Trump, in your opinion?
George W. Bush was worse than Donald Trump because Bush killed everything. 1 million people. He lied us into the Iraq War and killed 1 million people. Trump is a close number 2, though, because Trump also is largely responsible for getting 1 million Americans killed through COVID because of him slashing and gutting funding to the CDC, which would have protected us and prevented COVID from getting as bad as it did. But anyway, we are out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm your host, Steampunk Star Raisin, here in North Hollywood, California, USA, with my co-host, Daniel Bertison, in Bellwood, Ontario, Canada. You have a nice day, and then we'll see you 25 billion years. I will.
Bye.